All right. One more demo on 1 point perspective. Actually, maybe two. We might do details in the next one. But this is going to go over drawing a street scene in 1 point perspective with the classic looking down the street and how to draw different buildings so that they can overlap and exist in the space. And I'm going to do sort of this dystopian theme here a bit for details, but that might be the next one. So, all right. As you look at these things, they tend to have some main first points, just like we talked about drawing in 3D. First thing you want to just establish is the horizon line, the place where the land meets the sky, and also indicates your eye level. So in a street scene like this one, we're looking basically straight ahead. I'm going to move the eye line just a little bit lower, the horizon line a little bit lower, so that we can see more, how it would be when we're looking straight ahead. We'll put the vanishing point in the center, and we're going to keep our vanishing lines light as usual, and I'll probably do the same light source off to the side there to give you that idea. So to start with, I'm going to, as always, make sure my line's horizontal by making the ruler flush with the edge of the paper. I'm going to go a little bit below the center of the page so that I can have these tall buildings go up on the page. And I don't know, maybe I don't want it perfect center. I'm going to go a little bit off to the side for just mix it up, I guess. And then I am going to add my street just to get that started, to get an idea of where the general placement of things are going to be. So I'm going to do a diagonal line from my vanishing point over to the side of this page, close to the corner. Maybe I'll go not quite over the corner over here. That'll be the other side of my street. And then I'm going to do another angle, which is going to indicate the tops of most of my buildings. So for that one, I'm going to go pretty close to that top corner because I want to be able to make them pretty big and look like they're going off in the distance. And then I'll do the same thing over here so that I've got tops of buildings, some of the buildings-ish, and the street. Now I'm gonna right away put in sidewalks just because, I don't know, then that makes it easier for me to kind of picture everything. So I'm gonna add, that's narrower than I'd like it to be. I want it to be, oh, I thought I had a brand new pencil. This one feels like it's been sitting around a while. Love the Ticonderoga's favorite pencils. All right, so there we go. This one will make our sidewalk a little bit wider. That's better, I like that better. This is a pretty wide street, so maybe we'll go this way for this side of the sidewalk. There we go. So my sidewalks are going to be here. These will be the buildings. Got it. This is my street. I'm just going to, okay, there's a line down the street, so we have an idea. I don't know if you can even see that, but there we go. Now, if I were doing the buildings here, I'm going to separate this into 3 separate buildings so I can make them nice and big, and then we'll add details to get them to look different. Now, I'm going to have the buildings, it's a city street, come right up to my sidewalk. And the first one is going to go off pretty close to the vanishing point because this is the place off in the distance where things get teeny. So I'm going to have the building not go all the way there, but pretty close. And then I'm going to draw the other end. This, just so I can visualize, is the other side of this building. But usually buildings aren't right next to each other. Sometimes they're real close, but sometimes there's alleyways and things. So I'm going to do another vertical edge to indicate the next building pretty close to it, but to give a little bit of space in between the buildings, and that's going to help me separate the different parts of the buildings. And then I'll do another one over here, maybe make it not quite the exact same, looking distance, but try to make it a little bit different. I'm going to give a space, I'll give a little alleyway between there too. Now, as we started doing our 3-dimensional drawing here with 1-point perspective, whenever you start shapes, you generally start with the front of the shape, the object, I should say. The front facing side facing you is the part that didn't make sense. You generally start with the side of the object that faces you because those are always going to have horizontal and vertical lines. So you're, a cube, you're going to start with the side or the square that faces you. Now, because we're doing a building that's going off into the distance, the part that faces me is pretty huge. I can't really see the top because it's above my head. I can't see the bottom because it's sitting on the ground. And the part that's facing me is really just this little sliver of the building right there. And then all of this goes to the vanishing point because this is the wall of the building. Now, it's hard to visualize still. So to make it a little easier, I'm gonna switch pencils because I found this one that I thought was a brand new pencil, but sometimes, you know, as they get old, the erasers just get a little old. All right, so this is going off into the distance, and this now is actually the side of the face that's facing me. So I'm gonna kind of slide down from my horizon line and edge my ruler against the edge of my paper. So I know I'm getting nice horizontal lines because that helps it look like it's sitting there. And then I'm gonna just get rid of this. Remember, when I'm working in perspective, I want a nice clean piece of paper, a straight edge, which if you are at home, like me in the COVID stay-at-home orders, and you don't have a ruler, an edge of a cereal box works great, a spine of a book works great, a box of noodles works great, anything that's straight works great. There you go. So now I have 3 separate boxes. If I take away those edges, it might be a little easier to see, and I'm just gonna lightly erase the horizon line. It might help me to have it there lightly to see it later, but this is why I draw light when I'm drawing in perspective, and a little bit of shading. Remember, I'm gonna pretend my sun is somewhere over here. I'm not gonna draw it very dark because, you know, I'm just knowing that I'd be shading that way. But if I add just a little bit of shading, and I'm gonna keep my shading the light using the side of my pencil and keep it vertical. I try not to shade in rows because then it doesn't look even, but to keep things one direction and light for right now so I don't smudge it all over my paper. Something like that. So a little bit of shading just so I can see what I'm doing a little better. You don't have to add shading right now. I just want you to be able to see this on the video. All right, so I have these 3 buildings here. I could change the edges a little bit, make them smaller, bigger, but for our purposes right now, this works. Now, the next thing I want to do is really, a city block isn't going to be quite this perfect, right? There'll be some other ones behind and some things. So I'm going to draw a couple more buildings on top that are going to be like stacked off in the distance. Now, like I said, normally I draw the face and then I make the corners go to the vanishing point. So now that it's above and I can see it better, maybe I'm gonna draw here. I'm gonna start this one here. And I'm gonna make this building the width of my ruler just to make it easy. And this is the part that's facing me. So that's that. Now, what do I connect to the vanishing point? Every corner, right? This corner. I don't connect that one because the building is a solid object, right? And that's going to go through the building. So I wouldn't see that corner. But what about if I pivot on my vanishing point? I'll see this one. So I'm going to go here. I don't have to go all the way to the vanishing point because my building isn't going to go all the way. I think this is going to be a big building that stops by the next one though. So I'm going to make sure it's vertical. My line is vertical. And now I have a building behind there. Maybe behind there I have another thin building that's gonna, you know, stick up into the sky just to mix up my space. Ugh. I need to remember, like, it's you don't have to use a ruler for everything, but I'm not really that good at straight lines without a ruler. So maybe this guy's just a little thin building. Here we go. Keep it vertical. There we go. So now I'm starting to see I have these buildings in the background. I could do things like that. Add another one, keep it vertical. There we go. So now I have these buildings here. Maybe there's another one. You get the idea. I'm not going to keep going. If I were to do one further back, I probably wouldn't go quite as tall because I want it to look like they are going back into space and vanishing. So as they go back, I might not be keeping, you know, I'm going to let the buildings get smaller too as they go back in space. And then the vertical back. Always line up the backs with the front. They're always parallel, so my corners connect. So I've got my boxes. They're going back in space. I drew the fronts facing me, and then I had the lines that indicate the depth going back. So I got some buildings. Woohoo! Now, details for my buildings. I'm going to do a window. Now, we know a window is basically going to sit flat. So I can do details like I can do, let's see, if I were to go every 1/4 inch here, like this, put a little tick mark. These are going back into space, so I can make these pivot and go up to those edges, pivot on my vanishing point. So now these get narrower and narrower as they go back into space. And then here, this is the side facing me, so it's always going to be the same, horizontal and vertical. So I could do general details like this, kind of like I did in the last video. Very simple. I could do lines going this way. If I wanted to make them look like they're going back in space, remember, I'm going to do little tick marks, a little hard to see, right at the edges here. Is that really, I missed something there. 1, 2, 3. So that if I'm doing vertical lines as they go back in space, I missed one. That's the one I missed. By drawing an edge from a diagonal line from one corner to the next, and then every time you cross a line, you mark it, that'll give you the correct distance for that width to get smaller and smaller as it goes back into space. And then maybe here on the front, I don't know, maybe I just have a couple of these lines for these windows. They would still be vertical and horizontal. So I could do simple windows like that. But what if I want like a window here that like digs into the building? Because you know, sometimes windows have more detail than that. Now notice too, my lines, I started really light. So they're kind of hard. Like some of them aren't really standing out very much. That it sometimes helps, I think, to go over those lines a little bit on the ones you know you want to keep. And give yourself nice, dark, clean edges to make those parts stand out as part of your building. So that one's pretty dark. So now I'm gonna work on this face. I'm gonna make a door and a window on here, a big one, like maybe this is a big shopping building. And so I'm gonna start first with the vertical line, make it edge with my paper, slide it over, and let's go here. I'm gonna make it on top. This is like an upstairs fancy store or something. I don't know. And then this one is going to go to the vanishing point because it's on the side of the building that's going off into the distance. I pivot on the vanishing point and I go here, and then I make my vertical line. There's my window. Is it believable? Not so much because it's very flat against it. If I were to do a bunch or something like this, like it's a smooth glass building or something, that could work. And I'm just noticing these. I would take those off, but you know, maybe darken those, fix it up a little bit. But I want to make this window look like it's actually inset in the building. So to do that, it's like making a tiny box, but the box is going in. So let's think about this. If this box is going into the building, I would see the side of it here. So I'm going to draw a vertical line to indicate that inside edge of that building because that's facing me. Now the top edge is going back in the distance, so I'm going to go line up that edge. I see that now because this is facing me. This is a horizontal line. So now if you look at this way, it looks like this window is cut into the building. And sometimes, you know, there's like a little bit of glare or something. There we go. And I could draw something in there if I wanted. I don't know. We haven't decided what would be in there yet. Now for a door, if I'm going to put a door on this part, you know, I'm going to draw one more thing. I want a ledge. I want to make a little ledge, make it look like there's something sticking out. So I'm going to draw the side. I would use a really tiny edge. It don't matter. So I'm going to make it look like this is sticking out. So I'm going to go to the vanishing point here. Bring this, and this is a yiddle ledge, yiddle. So it's barely different there. And then this piece, it should stick out. So it should go a little further. There we go. So now it looks like there's an edge sticking out, looks like there's a ledge sticking in. Now my building has some nice three-dimensional details. Let's make a door. Now the door is below the horizon line, below my eye level. So up here, when I made my window above my eye level, I see the bottom of the inside of the window. If I make a door below my eye level, now I won't see the top because it's below. Make sense? Sort of, I hope. So I'm going to start with the line for my door. That's the inside of it. Is that vertical? I should have lined up my ruler with the edge. It's not my most vertical line. Let's make it better because it's going to look a little tippy later if I don't. All right, so now let's make a nice vertical line. Looks the same. Hope it's good. And then, let's see, I want my door to be about this wide. Sure, that's what I want. That's a nice thing. I make it up as I go along because I am the artist. I can do it how I want. Voila! There's my door. It's going to be a double door. So I'm going to find about the middle. I could measure, but I don't feel like it. There we go. There's the center of the door. It's going to be like the opening doors. Now, as I do that, I want the doors to look like they're recessed in. So now I need to make this edge, because I would see it because that's facing me, right? So I'm going to draw my little vertical line here. There we go, as if it's coming in. Now it still doesn't look quite right, because I would actually see the bottom here. So if this is the side facing me, it's like a teeny rectangle that's facing me. I'm going to take this line away, because that's the edge of the sidewalk, but it's recessed in, right? So now this here, I go to the vanishing point, and I go here. Oh, look, because of the teeny horizontal, and that there. Now I have this. Maybe this is one of these like fancy doors where it has like metal around the edges or some sort of edge. See, I'm not using my ruler here. It doesn't look nearly as good. And then here we have the two little bars. There we go. You can grab. So there are my doors. Should have used a ruler for that edge, but I'm trying to be a little quick here. So you can see there's this, and then I'm going to darken this edge a little bit just so you can see how that's sticking out. So look, I have the door, I have this, I have a window. I could do lots of windows similar, even if I don't want to do it like that. I could do some other things. Ooh, I know, I'm going to do a doorway like it's going to go into the building. So let's say this is a garage or something here. I'm going to make the door this way. Sure, we'll just do it right at the horizon line. Perfect, that's my eye line. Now, if this is going in, like I can drive in here, right? Now, I see into there, there's going to be a wall like here. This is my background. Need to be, we'll kind of open that up in a minute. So this would be like the wall going in there. And then this would be like the driveway. It's looking less convincing at the moment, isn't it? Let's maybe add a little more shading, see if that helps us. So there's that. You know what, I think we need to do the sidewalk to help us there too, because this looks less convincing. All right, well, sidewalk time then, perfect. So this is gonna be the flat edge of my sidewalk here. And I'm gonna draw the little edge, that's the curb. So if I go here, let's go here so we can see just how big that is. Let's make the curb about here. That looks good, curb. Now, just like I mentioned before, I'm gonna do both curbs at the same time. That'll make my life easier. It's important that as things go to the vanishing point, they get smaller and smaller, because that's the point where they would vanish, poof, right? So I need to make it look like the sidewalk blocks are getting smaller and smaller because they're going off in the distance. So let's see. So here, I might put these really close together, and I'm just doing the horizontal parts, keeping it lined up against the edge of my paper. And this will be very close here. And then I get a little further out. Let's make these, oh, that was not correct. That's an ugly line. Oh, better. And then, let's see, maybe not quite that much. Is this level? Yes, horizontal. And then I go horizontal again. And now I'm adding a little more space as I come out here, and then a little more space. I'm just eyeballing it, but each time I back up my ruler, I'm checking to make sure it stays horizontal so it looks like the ground actually lies flat. That's important. And then there, that's probably enough. So now I have these pieces, and then I'm going to do teeny little vertical lines for the sides of the sidewalk. There we go, see, it's unbelievable. Now this is my driveway, so maybe here I get rid of this line and I make it look like the driveway is kind of curving there. And then this can go in like that. Vertical, 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 vertical. And my sidewalk goes back in space. Woohoo! So I have a driveway. Maybe I need a sign back here that says park. Oh, that's got to go to the vanishing point, doesn't it? Those horizontal lines. Oh, just get very close. It's going to be, so the verticals stay vertical in my text. But it's far away, so it's okay if I can read it very well. Not my best park sign. It's a little too crowded on the top. I'd fix that, but I'm going to keep moving. You guys can handle that. and make yours better. So I have that, I have the window, I have doors. I could do, we talked about other ways to do windows, just to show you a few things. I might, here, I'm gonna go along my horizon line here and do every, let's see, we'll start there and go every 1/2 inch. No, I'm gonna go 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, there. So I can draw my windows doing something a bit different. I'm gonna keep these vertical. If you do sound effects, you tend to make nicer, straighter lines. Sound effects really do make a difference in your drawing. So there we go. Now, let's see. I'm gonna go I'm gonna go 1 inch, and then a 1/2 inch, and then 1 inch, and then a 1/2 inch. That one's a little hard to see. Is that a 1/4? Wow, I'm getting old. I'm losing it. Is that really 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2? This seems wrong. 1/2 inch. Okay, sure. Now again, I use my tick marks, and I'm gonna go just in between those windows. So I get individual windows. Oh, this my 1/2 inch one. Oh, wait a minute. We'll put these all in. 1/2. And you can see now that I'm below the horizon line, see how I start to actually angle in the opposite direction? That's gonna help me create my illusion. Voila! So I could do something like this. Maybe I want to erase these out, and I could be real fancy, and I'm just going to sketch it, but I could do those little indent windows for all of these. Do you see it, how it would go that way? I'm not going to make you watch me do all those, but I could add different details in different windows for that too. Let's say I wanted to do a sign on here that popped out. Ooh, that's getting exciting. Let's do it here. I'll take this row of windows out, and we'll make a big sign here. So, let's see. That would be essentially like this little teeny box. I'm gonna do a big box right there. So, but I only see a thin edge. So my sign would be a teeny thin edge. And this side is facing me, right? So here's my horizontal line. I'm basically making a little bitty rectangle. And then I have to connect here, because that's going back in space. I want it to be on my building. So there, I'm gonna use my little tiny pivot just a little bit, because it's just the bottom of the sign. How far did I go? I don't know, I'll keep going because I'm not sure. And then pivot again and do the top of the sign. Am I there? And then here, we'll make it that edge. So, and then in theory, the back of this would be horizontal also, because that's the back edge of the sign, but it's so little, I can't really see. So now, look at it, it's like a popping out rectangle. And since I said it, you know, go, this is really bothering me. Too close to the top, it needs to be further down. There we go. I'll make a better sign here. That would see it far away, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now this one, I said I was going for this dystopian, so this is going to be We See You Inc. It's like Big Brother watching us. We See You Inc. There we go. So I'll make these thicker, but just to get them on there, make sure it fits, because you know how easy it is to do stuff and then realize like halfway over that it's not, the letters aren't all gonna fit, right? We've all done those signs, happy birthday signs, where it ends up being B-Day instead of birthday because it doesn't fit. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I feel like I'm saying things and no one knows. And then, you know, fill these in so I get my sign, my creepy Big Brother-y sign, like so. There we go. All right, so I got buildings, I got details, I got sidewalk, I got street. The lines down the street. Remember, you can't just do lines that are all the same length, because those got to get bigger as they come toward you too, right? And so I'm gonna go teeny bit. Is that in the center? No, it's not. Maybe I should add a bike lane, huh? How about a bike lane? I'm not gonna. This is a dystopian city. This doesn't, I can't, bike lane. It's not like, oh, ride your bike, be healthy. No, that's not how that works, right? All right, there we go. Now I'm gonna go just a slightly bit over so that these can start to widen for me as they get closer and closer. And then I do the horizontal edges. So even the lines in the middle of the street appear to get bigger as they come at me. All right, so I got some buildings, I got driveways, I got lots of details. How about, let's do one more building over here just so we get an idea. Yeah, I'm gonna do the side of the building. I don't know, maybe we do a couple because there's a bunch. All right, so this is the building. This is the part that's facing me. So this would be horizontal. This would be horizontal. This is maybe it's a grassy area here, grassy. That's the edge of the building. We'll make something back there. That's the land, so I can leave that. This is through the building, so I wouldn't see the horizon line there. This is the side of this building, and then I need to make, I should have just made the front, huh? We'll make this one as if this is the front. So you see, this is a building, this is a building, right? And if I want to give this building an edge, I can make this go back in space like this is an edge of the building here too. So are you seeing it? So now, if this is my shaded side, my sun is coming from over here, I could add some shading here to these. This is not nice shading. I'm sure your shading is going to be better. Again, I like to shade with the side of my pencil. I like to make nice, light, non-rose. Kind of did rose. It's not my best. It's rose. There you go. If you keep your direction consistent, but not shade in rose, you don't get like overlaps and edges. So there we go, shaded. So I could add some of these details over here too. It's just an example of that. I wanted to do some natural details also to show you some things you could do that are there. So let's say I wanted to do a tree. Oh, who doesn't love trees? Every city needs some trees, breathe some fresh air. Back here, itty bitty trees. If you repeat objects, just like we repeated buildings, it helps to repeat the idea that, it helps to give you an idea of more depth. So back here, these are itty bitty trees. So I'm just gonna draw a little bit of a wiggly trunk, and then an easy way to do a tree is like I call them split trees. I don't know if somebody else came up with that, but just to make a line that splits. If you want to make a tree look real, it's really important that as they go bigger, like further away from the trunk, that they always get thinner. If you don't do that, they don't look believable. So I have itty bitty trees here. This is going to be a park maybe. See, yay, park. I don't know what I said I was going to see there. Then maybe I have a tree here. Now this one's got to be bigger than those trees, right? Because otherwise it won't look believable that it's closer to me. And I started to do some very poor grass texture in there. Maybe I'll do, don't scribble so much as like do, I guess it's, I call it, well, fancy scribbling is called scruffling. Doesn't that sound better? It's a good art term. Scruffle. Scruffle some little different directions there. And then maybe do windows or something on that building first before I add a tree in front of it because it'd be easier to do later. So see, I'm coming up. I got some big branches. That's definitely bigger than those. And then some little ones. And leave space. Like we see through trees. You don't have to actually make everything super connected. Enough. Yes, this is too. And then up here, maybe I have a little bit of shadow or something in here. You could also add shading to the street. Now, if I shade the street, I'm not going to go vertical because it'll make it look like it's sitting up straight. Anytime you shade horizontally, if you shade, it tends to make things look like they're laying flat, and vertical things tends to make it look like they're laying vertically. So I could do something like this. Maybe I go like this in that edge. I don't even know if I'm on the, am I in the picture? That would be good. I could add, it doesn't have to be super consistent. I can go like this and then do a little erasing out of, don't like it. I could do, maybe I'll, sort of collects by the gutters. Maybe I'll do something like this. But I'm trying to keep my direction mostly horizontal because it'll add to the idea that the ground is laying flat. So I shaded here vertically on the sides of the buildings, and I shaded here horizontally, even though this is not a super important part of my what was I getting at there? Super important. It's a main part. It's kind of important to shade it nicely. I don't know what I was gonna say. There, so maybe I'll shade, I wanna get that edge nice. Maybe that's a little darker and then this comes across. I'd keep going. I'd keep shading. I like to keep my touch light when I'm shading. I don't like to blend with my finger because I think it makes everything smudgy and messy and smudgy. Okay, so yeah, I'd keep going, but you get the idea of my shading there. The other thing you can do, oh, that's what I want to talk about, bricks. Bricks. You can do a lot of different things for bricks. Now, if they're on this side, they got to be vertical and horizontal. If they're on this side, you want them to be going to your vanishing point off in the distance. I totally forgot the third tree. Well, I guess it's the fourth tree. I was going to do a big tree here. I'm skipping all over. Let's finish trees, people. Oh, focus, focus. All right, so here's my tree. This one's wider because it's there. I'm gonna get the base here, and I'm trying to, again, keep it light, get some roots in the ground there. And then maybe some bigger branches here, big branch here, and then little ones popping off. Think air through the tree. Think thinner, shorter lines as you come out. Now, what if I want to shade my tree? Again, I'm going to use the side of my pencil, and I'm thinking of leaves around these clusters of branches. And I don't have to cover all of them, but I can add little bits of shading here. All right, so details and shading, stuff like that. That's what we're talking about right now. I'll pretend I didn't get distracted and do the street. So I shade the trees. So now I can do that with all of them and just make my clumps smaller and closer. But don't make them like non-see-through clumps because you can see through the leaves of the trees. So maybe here's a clump around a branch, but, wow, did you see that? It just jumped out of my hand. That was weird. Pencil, are you alive? All right, there we go. So I can do things like that. I can leave it leafless. It's up to you. What I want to show you, bricks. So let's say I'm doing bricks right here. I can be very specific. Where's my sample? This one has a lot of really nice tiny window detail, window every other, kind of like I showed you in that building, different kinds of windows here. They have the different buildings. Details would be the word I'm going for. And bricks here, lots of bricks. Notice when you do bricks, there's a lot of horizontal and then the verticals alternate between the two. And the verticals are vertical on both sides, but then as they go back in the distance, the horizontals, the leading vanishing lines gotta go this way unless they're on the side facing us. Then they're vertical and horizontal. So if I'm gonna do bricks, let's do them on this building right here. I tend to not do bricks as specific as those, and I'm gonna do like oversized bricks here just so you can get the idea and it won't be too many bricks to draw. So I'm gonna draw down those edges so I know exactly where they're gonna go, and then I would connect this side ones to the vanishing point, and maybe I know what I'm gonna do. Wow, I gotta go this way so I can see it better. I'm gonna go here and here and connect and connect and connect. And then you can be as specific as the ones I just showed you. You can also do things like do like sections of bricks. And the key is to do just a bunch of little lines, almost keeping them sketchy, depending, I said, before about like figuring out the style of your, I didn't mind. Make sure you stay on that vanishing point. Ugh. I did what I what I was about to say not to do. It's so easy when you're using the vanishing point as a pivot to slide off of it and not realize it. So see these here, slid off of there. So I have all these little tiny lines. Now I could go and just kind of give an indication of these edges of the bricks. And I sometimes do like almost little L shapes to give it like the idea of a shadow. These aren't my fave because they're a little big, but I wanted you to be able to see it. And because I should have redrawn the ones of where but you see, you get the idea of a brick texture, which doesn't have to be as detailed as, you know, some of the others. It depends on how you want your drawing to look, I would say. So I'm going to start with this line then to get this side of the building. Let's go like this so we know we're horizontal and move the edge of the ruler here. Shing. So I'm giving you kind of a sketchy brick look here. So, and same thing. I'm going to do these little edges, and this is one way. Play with your textures, practice things. This is too big. These are too big from this side. I'm trying to hurry now so I can get through, and I'm just you can do them better. There we go. So you see how you can kind of get this brick-like texture alternating. You can keep that going all the way. So there's are my details. Yeah, shade, have fun, add details you like, put some things in. That's it. Thank you.